All right, we're going to go ahead and get started talking here about these deck lists for this top 64 matchup. Um, Hopefully everything's okay here. Let me get Twitch pulled up on my phone so I can actually see chat. Um, we've got a Phoenix mirror of sorts here versus. Oh, I've got. Hang on. Got my damn Twitch open in the background. Sorry about that. Echo. Get the app open here. So this is a top 64 match, season 13 cup between Careless Army and let's see, Klapsere. Klapsere's running. There's a couple tweaks on it, but it's a fairly standard Dragon Splash. Kind of interesting notes here include the one of Walking the Way is kind of interesting. Kudaka, you don't always see anymore. The Secluded Shrine's pretty standard at this point. So this list is pretty much the meta list at the moment for Phoenix, which is to say one of the best lists in the environment. He's only got a lot of the attachments. Still got the Ningyos. I've seen those cut some. Has a Karmic Twist. There are some interesting decisions in here, but including it's a 42 card conflict deck. But let's just get to this. So the fifth most spicy thing about this particular list is that it is Lion Splash. 42 cards in each deck. Keeper of Air, not Seeker of Air. The Water Province is Elemental Fury, not Rally to the Cause. There's like 7 one-ofs in the Dynasty side, mostly to work with the fact that this is a Charge Bird list, I assume. I haven't talked to him about this list, but I'm going to guess here. There are 2 Spies in Court in here. The reserve list card, because it's Charge, obviously, is not Tadaka, so Tadaka is not going to be making an appearance on this side. There is no Attachment Hate. Hand to Hand did not make an appearance either. Rather, there's Legion of Ones, My Ancestor's Strengths, and a single Strength in Numbers. There's a lot going on here. So, I'm going to peek in every now and then just to make sure they don't start, or they're not waiting on me to start. But I was told I had about 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm just going to try to put together what I think pieces of this are for, and he can come back later and correct me or not. So like I mentioned, we've got one-ofs a whole bunch of different characters. Part of that I think is because they're mostly big uniques, and again, the big uniques, they play nicely with being able to discard to put Fate on, but they don't play nice with Fushiko and with Charge. So I assume that's some of what's going on there. So obviously no Tadaka because Charge is in the list, but most of the other unique 4 and 5 cost characters are in here. 1 Sukune, 1 Kaede, 1 Fujina, 1 Atsuko, 1 Azunami, 1 Inquisitive Ishika, which your guess is as good as mine. That does not belong in the list. That card is going to be actively kind of terrible in this matchup. On the conflict side, 1 Clarity of Purpose, 3 Against the Waves, but 1 Clarity of Purpose. Clarity doesn't play great with Charge, so I sort of get it, but there's a lot here. Also worth noting, the name of this list is Hooray Children of the Empire, Same Old Deck, which maybe it is for him. Even playing the Lion Splash is kind of spicy to me, and I've mostly been playing Crane lately, but because I enjoy that, and then Dragon Splash because it's the best generally. Rewalking the Ways, which Charge Bird, okay. There's a whole lot here. I actually kind of like what he's doing here for this mirror, though. Let's just double check. Nope, we're still good on that. So I kind of like a lot of what he's got going on here in terms of for the mirror specifically. Um, Number one, he's not like immune to Tadaka or anything, and obviously the one-ups in the Dynasty side don't make any difference for Tadaka. But he does have a lot of one-ups in the event side on the conflict deck. Um, Also, just like there's a lot of high roll potential going here. I mean, the charge board decks always have that, but this seems to be maximizing it. You've got the My Ancestor Strength build. There's a whole lot going on here. Now, the thing is, he's got no chance of like Tadaka against the other Phoenix player, and Tadaka is, while always good against most clans, is excellent against Phoenix. It does mean the secluded shrines in the other deck list are not as valuable because, you know, he's got his own Prodigy of the Waves. I assume the other list has Solemn Scholars. It does. And it's got the full 3 Prodigy of the Waves. This one only has 2. Still, Secluded Shrine loses some value just because there's no Tadaka in the opposing list. That's marginal, but it's still kind of interesting. There's also a single Ishikan Initiate on this side, which could make, if both players have Secluded Shrines, that could be really interesting. You know, first conflict, and it's the 3/3 out of hand. I don't know. I'm actually really interested to see this. I think this is going to be really dependent on the flips in a way that the Phoenix Mirror typically isn't. Typically, it's a lot about who can stick a Tadaka, who's consumed by 5 fires, you know, resolves, that kind of thing. So the consumed by 5 fires, there's only one in this matchup. Obviously, Keeper of Air, you don't get to play it. It is Seeker roll only. The other list is running it as a 1 of. I have seen it as a 2 of in a lot of lists lately, just for the being certain to draw it. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. Okay, they're still not going. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting was his choice of non-unique characters here. So we've got the full 3 Keeper Initiates, which is not bad with the Legion of One plan. I'm not sure what else you're really doing with it. I guess you need them for strength in numbers, but that's kind of just okay. Again, the Ishika is just... I think the Ishika cannot interplay in the Phoenix Mirror, is the thing. I think he just cannot bring it into play because it's going to be more valuable for his opponent than for him. I forget if My Ancestor's Strength does cost 1 during water. Are they both running the full Feral Ningos? So they both have the full Feral Ningo 3 of. That can be annoying. I think I'm really interested to see how this turns out. The Satoshis might be an advantage. Neither one of them are on. There have been a decent number of lists running IMS, in which case Kanjo is not great against that. The IMS deck actually does very well against Kyonizawa, which is one of the biggest reasons to play it, because there's a lot of KI decks in the meta. So, I don't know. I haven't even seen some of these cards in a while, and I'm known for playing some janky stuff, so it may take me a moment to remember how some of these work. Particularly, I've actually never played with My Ancestor's Strength. You know, it should be fairly interesting. Does it set base or does it set current? It's base. So with like Ishikan Initiate, if you copy Fushiko, you end up with a 6/6 plus the trait. That seems solid. You know, Uona, there's a couple of others where that's kind of useful. See how it reads. Yeah, so you can't get Uona into a political conflict with that because she has to be participating to play it. So there's no kind of jankery with that. And in any case, neither of them has a favorable grounds to do any sort of movement tech. I don't know. I really am interested to see how this one... I was figuring I was getting a fairly standard Phoenix Mirror, and this is really interesting. Other cards just to look out for. I think both of them are on 2 censures. Both of them have a single assassinate. There's a karmic twist in this list, which it does have 2 embrace the voids. Kirill's army is actually on your list. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. I'm sorry. It is on no attachments other than Cloud the Mind. I'm actually a big fan of doing that. You can't really pass up on Karmic Embrace if you're running Consumed. So I get why most people aren't. But I actually really do like minimizing your attachments in the current environment, either overloading their removal or kind of underloading it. This would be particularly good against like a Calling in Favor splash, because Calling in Favors on Cloud is not. Yeah. I mean, on the other side, though, those clouds are, they better be used to trigger a new owner, because 6 attachment kills versus just those 3 attachments, you can't really count on a cloud to stick. Okay, looks like we're going live. Hopefully Jigoku decides not to blow up, because it was crashing earlier. Let's see how this goes. Alright, so bottom player is the Lion Splash, top player is the Dragon Splash. I don't know if KM will go on the Stronghold for both in this matchup. Both decks are pretty equal at political and military. I could actually see putting it in the just to screw with their ranks. Alright, so first player is Klapsere. He opens with some cheap characters. That should be pretty good. In a library versus just one character at all that can be purchased on the other side. Both players have a fair amount of conflict characters, however. Early Conjo, so if he can get that Keeper Initiate, that's going to be huge. He really would like to get the favor this first turn, assuming that you keep that province safe. Might be hard to do, though. So Forgotten Library gets that off to a solid start early. Both draw 5. Oh, interesting. There's a Walking the Way already. I assume that'll flush the Keeper Initiate. Yeah, the Shrine does help with the favor. But if he has a really bad... Ooh. Can't imagine Solemn Scholars what he really wanted there. Let's see what they named for their rings. Klapsere names Void, which makes sense with only one fated character here. Claims Fire. Names Earth. Big fate advantage. Both players are on 2 display of powers. So you've got to figure there's a very good chance we see one of those first turn. So the province row for Klapsere is pretty much the standard. The province row for Kirill's army is much worse because Keeper of Air rather than Seeker. So we're leading off on a water military attack. No, void political. Swinging back and forth. Water does not do much of anything. And both play. I mean, I assume that that's signaling a Ningyo, but both players have Ningyos in their list. And truthfully, if anything... okay, so we get a conflict at Manicured Gardens. Let me... No defense. To me, this is pretty blatantly signaling a display. I think it is worth using here when you're trying to get the favor this badly. No way to break it. Not really a surprise. Probably just wanted to scout the manicured, scout what the province was for a potential attack on water. Yep, there's display. Be interesting. I actually could see voiding either side of this, but yeah, he hit Suona. That makes a ton of sense. There's a world where you go offensively water, even though you named Earth. Nah, he's just gonna go Earth. Um, there's not a ton of political pumps here, but he could very well have conflict characters with this much fate. Still sitting on 5 fate even after that display. Another walking the way. This is political, so no charge out of this conflict. Oh, it's the same walking the way, so he's not going to be playing a different. Well, he's lining up some nice cheap characters for later. Stocking the discard with not really what you're looking for there. Duona is not really what you want to bring back with the Fushiko later. Does have the Storm. Gotta assume if there was an assassinate, it would get played, and it is. Nicely done to draw that out. Shrine Maiden discards 3 cards, including one of his bonsais. That could be relevant later because he is playing 2. So that'll turn off the other if Tadaka's out. Still, that was a nice bait with the assassination to get out the storm. In total fairness, the spell count in this list is relatively low. Gets a Spies at Court, which is a 2 of in the list, to get a Shrine Maiden and an Against the Waves. That's pretty good. Gets a Clarity with the Earth Ring. Like, that's a pretty good little hand swing. Although he's actually still down 2 cards. That is a very good Spies at Court. So he's going to need a pump here. Even if he has an Ningyo, he's still going to need something beyond just the Ningyo. Yeah, so he's at 5. A charge here could, like, save the province if he wants to. You can charge in the Solemn Scholar and then bow somebody because you do have the Earth Ring. But the 2 supernatural storms are gonna make that rough. So he can get +2 with it right now. An air spell could also bow Ningyo because nothing used the Duona ability here. Still, this is a pretty good tax to get him to use up the both halves of the storm here. It puts them both on the Feral Ningyo. Legion of 1 to try and save. That's fine, I guess. Throws away a Cloud of the Mind just to bow the Feral Ningyo. There's a Solemn Scholar. That's going to be able to bow down this Ningyo, so he's going to need to invest a lot more into this conflict. Yeah, I agree. You should have spread those. Now, that said, there's an assassination on the other side. You lose to the assassination, but there's 3 charges, and there's only 1 assassination. If he had it, sure, but he did already lose one from hand and his box got used. Um, Also down to one fate on that side. So this is going to win the water ring, which effectively does nothing. Um, like, he's out of conflicts. It doesn't look likely that there's going to be another conflict. That readying Uona also doesn't do it with the secluded shrine. That's just straight up a mistake. I think he forgot about the secluded shrine. Oh, well, I guess we are going to have another conflict. I wouldn't have played the Against the Waves before seeing that, but. So this is going to be. This is a 5/5, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're probably correct. Yeah, gets the air ring, gets the keeper initiates. Now he's going to win the ring like 6-1 with that conjo. And a slight board advantage. Like, I like his position here a lot. Both hands are pretty spent, but conjo's worth a lot of cards. Oh boy. Um, that's an interesting flop. So Klapsere is going to have a pretty solid hand advantage here. I probably would have put more than one fate on the Dreamer, but he may already have something in hand worth a lot of money. Uh, Bids of 4 and 3. Both players hedging a little bit, I guess, against a one bid. I don't think Girls Army had to do that, but. In this fate, like, I guess it could be a consumed, but it doesn't really seem that worth it right now. These aren't the threatening characters that could use that with. Now for everybody's favorite game of trying to track which Dreamer has which boost. One of them gets Fire Ring. That's the one on the Lion Splash side. Okay, two of them have Fire Ring, and one of Klapsere's has Earth. There's no way, as far as I know, for a observer to tell which, other than just waiting for those conflicts to happen. That attack to me screams court games for boosting up the keeper initiate. So both players are running 2 censures. Obviously, one of them has that turned on, but his hand size is only 5 versus 9 on the other side. Hand advantage grows here. The spell event, I assume, is going to be, yeah, Supernatural Storm. That is the box used awfully early, but it's good to get it. Make sure you use it every turn. it's hard for Klapsere to play too heavily into this just because he's, he loses it to Kanjo um, whenever they choose. And it's not even really like display of powering this helps that much if you force it. It's okay, like dishonoring that adept of the waves is the very obvious target, but and it helps with the glory count at the end, but it's nothing special. He just passes though, rather than invest in it. I think I might have tried to force the Kanjo use there, but again, I don't know what he's got in hand. Like 6 fate is a ton to be sitting on. Instead of becoming a 0/0, that adept of the waves ends up getting to be a 4/4. I mean, even if you have the display of power, there's a reasonable chance it gets canceled. Going to attack the Earth Ring makes sense. You're giving him fate. There are, like, the Province Row is actually pretty weak other than this. You don't really want to hit meditations with your only fated character, but you're not putting up a defense against the Void Ring anyway. Elemental Fury is kind of whatever. Once you trigger it, then pretty good to go. Debating a defense here. Ends up passing on it. It does get back up to display a power level of fate. I don't think that's worth it here, but maybe. Earthring is one of the more annoying to have to use on unless you happen to get to Daka. Burns a Bonsai. I mean, that's gonna have to get draw out something. Like I would, you're gonna use Kanjo here, not pass and let Kanjo break. Yeah. So I assume he's got something to follow up with, or he wouldn't have done that, one presumes. Okay, Tattooed Wanderer. Gonna be very challenged. I mean, we know he's got he can get to breaking on this. We know he's got a supernatural storm in hand, and he's got box. But there's an assassination. I would have probably let him put it, but it is a little bit of a greedy play because he could always just pass. Does he have another conflict character? We've seen 2 Shrine Maidens, so he's down to 1 Shrine Maiden and 1 more Tattooed Wanderer for conflict characters you want to pay for. Do not really want to pay for a Feral Ningyo. He's thinking about it, which makes me think he's considering playing a Feral Ningyo. Or possibly just swearing at his computer. I don't know. He passes, and we end up with a null resolution. Void attack on upholding, so that's at least something. Still, this is going to be the end to Klapsere's card advantage. There's no practical way, even if he wanted to abort out, that he could. And size 4, like, you might as well lose it now. I'm gonna laugh if he has, like, triple Cloud the Mind or something, though. So both honor totals are kind of starting to drip down. You do not have a display of power. It would have to be played before upholding gets used. So this streamer is getting voided. Again, I would have liked to have seen 2 Fate on it. No, 2 Fate on it, it probably eats the Assassinate instead of the Tattooed Wanderer. Uh oh. Uh-oh. Oh dear. Well, that's a board wipe. Uh yeah, we'll call that a balance. Both players discard to the same number of cards and destroy all characters. Well, don't know. Let's see. We will make it again. They apparently are going to give it another try. Um, you know, I admire their pluck. He also that was also Careless Army trying to messaging me that they were going to remake. I They seemed much more calm about it than I would have. They were winning pretty handily. I don't know why that happens with me as a spectator. I always have to cancel before it actually puts me into the chat room. All right, well, good news. We get some extra content here. I honestly admire his calm, at least in the messages. I would have been a little tilted because he was pretty advantaged in that game. Like, it wasn't completely over, but it would have been very challenging for a comeback to happen there. Hopefully, it'll let him finish this time. I'm not sure how many games I can call today, or how many they'd be willing to play. I have no idea what any of that means. I assume it is non-English. So this time, first player is Klapsere, which I believe was true last time. Well, a little more even on mulligans. Nobody keeping all this time. This time it's Careless Army with the Forgotten Library. Opening on Matching Naive Students. Isn't the worst charge bird, assuming he has a Walking the Way and okay with just paying for it. Or has a Shugenja, I suppose. He's got 2 conflict side Shugenja, 1 each of Ishikan Initiate and Secret Knowledge. So draws are 6 and 5. Double Dreamer hand, 1 Fate on both of them. I'm okay with that. Turn 1, especially when you're on the offensive. I don't know. I assume this first attack is about to be military water, and that could be interesting. Yeah. Very reasonable attack. Tori Mori in the row, which is something I called before game 1. But it actually doesn't help here because the point of the military declaration is to keep the naive student out. Obviously, you can switch it off water. Void Rings, if you're not going to care about losing the conflict, switching it to Void means Void does nothing. Does mean you can attack Void, and Void is pretty tempting here. Could also just go ahead and play Fushiko into the conflict. That also works. But because it stays water for an action, the Ningyo comes down. Matching Ningyos. We got Ningyo number 3. No, but we've got a Bonsai. I don't know that like you're not gonna break this province. I guess you want to keep them off the thing, but you're not gonna get a useful ring effect, and you're not gonna break. Like switch this to Void. Yeah, you lose the conflict, but whatever. I mean, even if the other side, I guess it is a bonsai on that. You could switch it to political and just try to win, but then you're kind of risking getting beaten up by Supernatural Storm. No, I kind of called it because of it's not good on the box in this matchup. You might as well get the ring flip effect to deny like a Solemn Scholar or, Suki triggers or whatever. I don't know what he put under the box. Probably Elemental Fury. Make your own. He's only got the 1 clarity, but that would be sweet. Supernatural Storm. Supernatural Storm is not that good here because he can flip it political. I find it weird how many resources both players are putting into this attack, basically. So there's the Walking the Way, actually paid for. I assume this is going to discard Atsuko rather than just, like, take a chance that you hit a better character. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's working out for both of them because the other is matching them, but I don't like it from either side. Another Fushiko. That seems a bit much. I assume this Korimori is going to get used. Okay, it makes it political. So going for the conflict win, that makes reasonable sense to me. Yeah, and he's just going to give up on it. That's fine, I guess. He's got a political attack left. He could go for breaking that. Yeah, no, he absolutely had to play the walking the way. It's mostly like that card's whatever. It's mostly both of them playing a lot of pumps and all that I was like, eh. So that's an Earth Ring political. I actually don't remember what this other dreamer named. Actually, I assume, yeah, if it was Earth, I would have guessed Earth, and it was Earth. So he's going to defend with her and come back with the naive student later. Um, we'll find a court games count. I'm guessing. So another Against the Waves gets played from discard, which was on board. Court games dishonors. There are court games back. Yep. This won't be breaking, but it is likely to win. How good this is kind of depends on which player, if any, has a second court games left. Although Klapsere can go for the break regardless, because he does have a supernatural storm in discard. So if there's not a court games on the other side, even if he doesn't have one, he can take it. This is not a terribly useful ring regardless. You can swing by a point of honor. I actually think attacking fire is wrong. You probably want to attack air because it's an honor swing. All this firing does is swing on by one. I guess air risks. No, there's no keeper initiates out. Yeah, I think I'd swing air instead. So there is a court games on the Careless Army side. Is there a court games back? If not, I assume. I don't even know if the ring is worth it. Yeah, I guess you might as well use your box every turn. Also, you don't have to worry about. He doesn't. Klapsere does not have to worry about Tadaka. Uh, uh, Events are just flowing here. Sorry, I got a message from him there for a second, but it's an old one. So the assassination kills off. So two supernatural storms get played, and then an assassination kills it. Down to 5 cards. Would be hilarious if he drew a conflict character off of that sincerity, but not playing it yet. This ring is not that great. Like the break would have been very good, and he was going for it. The ring effect is very minor. Yeah, it was breaking. There was a second supernatural storm. I I'm bad. I don't even recognize what language that is. So, so there is a tattooed wonder for the ring. I mean, okay. It's a 2 honor swing because of the unopposed, but even then, I don't understand doing that instead of air. Um, there wasn't a secluded shrine, so this isn't like he's still not blocking favor. Like it's literally just an honor swing. This takes political favor. Uh, the other side's keeping all their characters, and yet his Atsuko is probably like close to equal value. Yeah, I mean, I still don't understand if you were doing that attack why it wasn't erroring to begin with. I mean, it would be just be you'd be up in honor, and there'd be fate on the firing instead of the erroring, I guess. But the other player's keeper of air, like they didn't actually flip a keeper initiate, but they're incentivized to attack air anyway, or they would be incentivized to attack air normally. Now that Ujina against that empty Atsuko is pretty good. Also, Fushiko's timing with that, like it is Leaves play. I assume you still get to use the interrupt, but I'm like 99% sure, and the only reason I'm not 100% is because rules in this game work really dumb sometimes. I guess like he wasn't likely to lose the conflict. He was fairly likely to not win it, but if he was gonna like a null result is the most likely way that that conflict went bad. Well, I don't really know these players and I don't speak Greek, so you'll just have to deal with me. So the Dreamers are on Air and Void. Um, Tadaka comes out to play. Playing Tadaka makes sense. I understand that play. We get a solid defense against the political void attack, and then a cloud on Atsuko. Uh, Cloud first is obvious, but I feel like this is signaling. Oh no, Ornate fan. This felt like it was going to be court with that defense lineup. I mean, the Dreamer's on this ring, so you defend with the Dreamer, but that kind of felt like court games plus clarity. There's the Against the Waves. There was not one in the discard because he used his box on it last turn. He's got clarity that may count as a minor misplay. Um, that said, he's got three Against the Waves. There's a good chance that he wants that. Maybe trying to draw something else out. Threatens the break with the Shrine Maiden. So down to one fate. He can't both Against the Waves and um, Clarity. Yeah, double Ningyo into the discard there is not tremendous. Assassination on Suki. That's kind of brutal because this water attack coming back looks pretty sweet. I like Against the Waves now if you have it, because then you can attack water for your first conflict and have Tadaka for your second. You don't have it, that's probably okay. Yeah, you lose the fertile fields, but that's fine. Tadaka does get voided down to one fate. That's probably also okay. So water attack here is fairly safe. You know that they at most have one Ningyo. No, I like the assassination there just because you do know that That way you know in advance whether or not you can attack water. It's possible it gets censured, in which case you really don't want to attack water. It's Elemental Fury, though. Uh, Elemental Fury flipping it to Earth is not the end of the world, but that's pretty good. Like you're out, keeps you from using the Tadaka on this attack. If you have an Against the Waves available, you can still straighten Tadaka with that. Oh yeah. Yeah, hits and Embrace the Void with it. Not a huge deal. Might have drawn a very good card. Has an Ishikan Initiate to swing. This is going to be a pretty big attack. And obviously his hands turn back to him. And more importantly, his box. So we know he's got an Against the Waves available. That said, breaking this upholding is, just okay. Is he gonna just go ahead and eat this upholding authority, or is he gonna bow his own guy? I assume this is hitting the Dreamer. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't aware of that. I guessed KM in the road just off the matchup, but see what this upholding authority gets. It's 2 copies of Supernatural Storm. That's pretty good. Um, is down to 3 honor, which is not the greatest. Gets 2 cards of some value off of the Shrine Maiden. One of's both in his deck for the Benton's Touch and the Walking Away. Why would you attack water? Oh, Ningos, of course. I'm like, the water ring effect doesn't do much, but if he's got a Ningo, he can break. I haven't played with Ningos in a little while. Now Mill is just Dishonor. Okay, it does end up going fire. Doesn't have to worry about this one getting displayed. This is a 3-point Supernatural Storm. Yeah, so this is threatening the break. Gets to kill this Fushiko before it can do anything terrible. I presume this is honoring Tadaka. I mean, you could take a point of honor gain, but yeah. Daka's going to be a big boy next turn. Favor stays on the other side. So does a library. You gotta assume bids are going pretty low this turn. As in, you Klapsere, you could not convince me in Klapsere's place that bidding anything other than one is correct when you're first player, so you can go air. But there's Conjo. That is a little gross. That said, the only character he flips, he's only at 7 fade, and the only character he flips is a 5 coster. So that's not the greatest, but that Conjo is quite good. Doesn't play it though. That's totally respectable. He's got a personality on board. Probably got a charge in hand. He may have had it earlier. I forget if he had it in the hand that was revealed with upholding. This clue goes on fire. Political attack water first. That would make sense. You could send 2 people, covert out the initiate, prevent the charge, and the only thing you have to worry about is 1 ninja. Yeah. Daka gets covert. I assume you're sending the Adept of the Waves and to Daka and not just losing to this Conjo. Yeah. I believe he did play a charge turn 1, but that may have been the previous game. Yes, he did play a charge. I'm pretty sure this was the game with the turn 1 Fushiko. So yeah, threatening the break on the Manicured Gardens seems interesting. I am surprised. Plays his last against the Waves, so he's just got the 1 in the discard now on Tadaka. If you're going to do that, you probably should have done it before using Manicured Gardens. You risked letting him play a Clarity on Tadaka, which would have made total sense to do as first action just in case of that Conjo. So now he's going to need something else to actually win this conflict. So if he has an Against the Waves of his own, and he hasn't played one yet, so it seems fairly likely, then could try and bait the Conjo on the Adept and then straighten to Daka. He has his last Ningyo. We saw 2 of them get flushed to Supernatural Storms for 3. That's pretty good. Okay, so that can't quite threaten the break. He gets his 1 of Clarity of Purpose. It's not very valuable in this particular conflict, but it'll be nice later. Loses his 2nd charge. Hits Adept with Supernatural Storm. part one. uh, okay, there's a Cloud the Mind on Sadaka. You have to think it's pretty likely that that goes in hand. I think we saw one get hit with an Earth Ring, but there's still two in the deck. Yeah, there it goes. But he has a censure for it. So he's going to get off at least one spell. Okay. Yeah, he used his window pretty well, but there's the let go again. Unless he's got the other censure. Okay. I assume this is a storm on the Shrine Maiden. This might force the conjure. Yep. Um, but he doesn't have anything to follow that up with. Doesn't mean the wiring's going to get claimed, so this Suki is going to get to honor herself. Oh, and the spies at court gets a display in a cloud. Um, it was a pretty good spies at court hit. It's meditations, which does nothing in this conflict, at least not unless he plays a conflict character into it with Fate on it. Going to defend. Seen a clarity yet? No. So yeah, he's done that both games so far. There's his one of walking away that we saw him pick up earlier. Just pitches a naive student basically because he puts it into a discard or into a broken province. Not sure if he was just fishing for a holding with strength on it. So the one clarity purpose on the other side, which we knew he had from a Shrine Maiden, it'll be there to defend. No, there's another conflict left. This is only the first conflict. Okay, so he's going to be able to come back at it here, and this is going to be breaking strength. Well, not breaking strength, but this is still a pretty nice. Okay, Legion of 1 gets it back up. This is, even if it hadn't broken, this would have been pretty gross, both on the hand size front and the honor front. So Klapsere is down to 2 honor and 1 card. He'll go up to 3 when Tadaka leaves play. He has like a slightly better board, but other side's going to keep a Conjo lock going. Oh no, that's right. There was a secluded shrine. So he's got to throw out a Seeker of Knowledge. He remembered, I didn't this time. Sets up his next turn with a walking the way. I don't think you can keep this Ujina in your provinces. I think he's just going to have to full flush. Solemn Scholar in the Unbroken province, so presumably going to keep it. Yeah, full flush on that side. Only keeps everything that he's allowed to on the other side, which pretty good. There's that one of Sakune. Just ball outright in the charge deck with 2 Fade on her. Alright, let's see what these bids look like. Yeah, that's pretty much as expected. Forgotten Library keeps pushing the advantage. If this first attack is political at box and it's KM, you just need to flip to military before you can court games, I think. He's going to have the Seeker there for protection on it. Oh, he sends Sakune alone? Okay. Oh, and he sends it at the 4th province that's not the stronghold. Okay. Just going for the dishonor win, I suppose. Or just wants to make sure he gets the air ring off. I don't hate it, actually. You're probably not breaking anyway. You might as well avoid Glory Mori. Now, let me do a quick court games check. I have to assume there's a court games on Fearless Army's side. There's only been one played on the other side. He's down to 2 cards in hand, but, you know, totally reasonable that he could have it. Somewhat awkwardly, he already gave the covert to the Pragia waves for water conflicts. But with the condo district and all, there's a good chance that he's not going to be able to get force water to get claimed. All right, what spell are we getting? Clarity. Okay, that makes sense. pass on defense. This is a little rough. The water attack at Cory Mori might be a bit ambitious. But that's where it's going. With a defense. About to. Okay, so we're getting a defense. Didn't see that coming. That seems a little strange. Flips it over to Earth. Yeah, I'm not. I have to admit, I don't understand the defense here. Seems like you just keep him off water, Hanjo him out, and then go break his stronghold. Yeah, I don't understand attacking Cory Mori to begin with, and I don't really understand the defense, but maybe it makes sense to them. Okay. Honestly, that result from Klapsere's perspective seems okay. No, don't attack fire. Attack anything but fire, and he wins the game if there's nothing on Klapsere's side. There's no reason. You attack void, resolve air. Sukune resolves fire at the end of turn to dishonor the Adept of the Waves, and the game ends. Oh, that's true. Well, I figure he's got a reasonable chance to have some. He's out of supernatural storms for the turn, so that is fair. But what's the attack? He's got to have something, or else why make the attack at all? I mean, it's one fate, I guess, but. He's going to play in the Ningyo purchased. This is a just flat out attempt to win the favor away. But yeah, Conjo District gets sent. So this actually works out if he doesn't have anything. Favor gets tied at. Yeah, there it is. Okay. There was a Supernatural Storm in hand. Which means the game. Oh, he's. Why was the attack on fire? I mean, this is still really good. He gets to void, and like, but the game could have just been over now. The game is effectively over now, but okay, okay. I forgot about that little piece of spice. Okay. All right. Well, that was an interesting one. I do like the list. It does look like a lot of fun to play. Um, they're going to have some chatter that I'm not going to be able to really understand. Although I think I'm guessing that the Kai clarity is where the hell are my clarities? But thank you all for watching. Was a fun one. And we'll see you for the next match of whatever I managed to stream.